Hello. Yeah, good afternoon or evening rather. Welcome to today's class, but hope everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, just like unmute and say you can hear me.
Good evening. Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm trying to wait for like more people to join. Sorry for the delay in today's class. We had some issues setting up the class, so yeah. I just sent the link to the channel, so if you have friends that are in this track, you can tell them to click the link and join. So now I think we're about 20. So let me just wait till 5:15 to see if like we'll have more people joining us, and yeah, we'll start from there. I hope everybody can hear me clearly. If you cannot hear me clearly, just like comment in the chat box or something, so I'll know that I should adjust my mic or something. But yeah, we'll wait till 5:15, so you can go back and like get refreshments or something. When it's 5:15, we'll start. Yep. Hello.
I have take my
Hello.
What's it?
The class is in session. We are waiting for other people to join. We're going to start proper when it's 5:15. It's 5:14 already.
I'm going for.
Hello. Sorry, if anybody's mic is on, please kindly mute your mics. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we are waiting till 5:15. It's almost 5:15. It's like some seconds to 5:15 already. So yeah, now the time is 5:15. So yeah, we can get started. If I just hope everybody's hearing me clearly, like my voice is loud enough and all that. But yeah.
Yes, your voice is loud.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, let me share my screen and we'll start there. So yeah. So to start today, what we are basically going to be talking about is in the last class, you guys spoke about the how the web works, how servers and DNS works, how you get what basically happens when you open www.google.com in your browser and all of a sudden magically you see some HTML page that has certain styles and just looks so fancy and everything looks very nice. But last week, what we basically spoke about was what goes on under the hood, like what your browser does, how your browser contacts Google servers and says, okay, so person or so person's computer needs this HTML file to show them a particular thing because they want to search for something, that kind of process. So that's basically what you did last week, how your laptop and the web works as a whole. Yeah, so this week we're going to be talking about front end in particular, how you get to build your own Google-like pages, basically. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So we actually have a lot to cover, like a lot. I just hope this class will be sufficient for us to cover everything we need to. So yeah, I think we told you guys, like in one of the prerequisites or something like that, we told you guys to download Visual Studio Code, and I hope you guys have been playing around with it. So by now you should be somewhat familiar with how it works and all of it. Yeah, not necessarily in true cases, but you should know what it looks like. So yeah, basically this is Visual Studio Code, and this is what we are going to be using. You can use other IDEs. There is Sublime Text. You can use Notepad if you are a guru, but yeah, it's VS Code or Visual Studio Code that we are using now. So this is what we are going to try to cover today. As I said, time might not permit us, but let's get right into it. So first things first, if you want to create a web page, the web page has to have a file extension of .html. I hope you guys can see. Let me try and increase the font. Yeah, it's increasing. Yeah, so here this file is an image and it has an extension of PNG, meaning PNG is for images. Then this one is .txt. The extension is for text files. So when we are dealing with HTML files, when we are dealing with web pages, we deal with HTML files. So to create the file, you just right click and you click on new file and index.html. So this is where we are going to start from. Almost your entire code as a front end, okay, I won't say your entire, but like 50% of your code as a front end developer is going to be inside of your HTML file. Now, how exactly does HTML come into the picture? HTML is what guarantees the structure of your web page. So let me use the human anatomy to explain. In our bodies right now, as all of us are, wherever we are, we all have skeletons. It's our skeletons that give us our particular posture, the way we are sitting down, the way we are standing, the way we walk, how we stand when like we are talking to somebody. All those things is our posture that determines it, and that is our skeleton that determines it. So basically, that's what HTML does for us. Our flesh, our skin is what I would say is CSS, because what CSS does is it basically takes our skeleton and like covers it and makes it more beautiful, makes it more appealing, makes it more easy to look at. If you look at the human skeleton, it's not necessarily appealing to look at. I don't know if you guys will agree with me, but I feel it's not really nice. It's not very good to look at the skeleton. It's not just, it looks somehow shy, but with CSS slash our skin, you get to beautify it and make it look as beautiful as you want. Then the ladies among us also have their makeup to get them more beautiful, but that's a topic for another day. So yeah, so to get started with HTML, the first thing that you are going to, so HTML deals with things that we call tags. Sorry, the meaning of HTML is hypertext markup language. Let me type that out. Hypertext markup language. So yeah, if anybody asks you, this is the meaning of HTML. So let's get started now. So HTML deals with tags. Basically everything you write in an HTML code is going to be tags. And tags include opening and closing tags. For almost every tag that we have in HTML, you must have an opening tag and a corresponding closing tag. So as you can see, the opening tag is going to have like just the name. The closing one is going to have a slash behind it. It seems there are people waiting in the lobby. Let me try and add them into the class. Okay. There's no one. Okay, let's continue. So we have opening tags and closing tags. So to start your HTML file, I just said everything is opening and closing tag. That was kind of a lie, not necessarily a lie though. With every rule, there's an exception. It goes the same way for HTML. So on the first line, this one would not have the opening and closing tag. It just tells the browser that it is currently rendering a HTML file. So that's what we are doing on this first line. So how do we do that? Exclamation, you open the tag by using the less than sign. Then you type doc type in capital letters, then HTML, small letters, and you add your greater than sign to like close the tag. But this is not the closing tag per se. It's just like to close the opening tag here. Then after you have your doc type HTML, now the browser knows that it's going to be rendering a HTML file. Next thing is, so if the reason why I said HTML is kind of like the structure is, as you're writing it now, you're going to see it. So first things first, what we are going to add is a HTML tag. This one is going to have opening and closing. So you're going to have HTML. And as you can see, like if you're using an ID, it's going to automatically add the closing tag for you. So if you look at the difference between two of them, the only difference is just that this one does not have a slash in front, while the closing one has. So that's like, most times that's going to be the difference between most times, every time, that's going to be the difference between your opening tag and your closing tag. Now, this is the HTML. Now, inside of the HTML, you're going to have two tags that are like very important, the head tag and the body tag. Now, to add that, to basically do it the same way we did our HTML, we'll have head. By the time you close it, our ID automatically adds the closing tag for us. Then we're also going to have body. Now, what is the essence of the head and the body? Let me just add spacing in between them. What is the essence of the head and the body? So the head contains information that is not going to show inside of our browser, but it helps the browser to understand what is going on inside of this file, basically. And we can add scripts that, I know you guys must have heard of JavaScript, so we can add scripts inside of this head tag. We can add our styling file. We can add, as I said before, extra information about the page, and so on and so forth. The more you go along, the more you learn about all these things. So so the first thing that we have to add here, one of the very important information that our browser needs. So to add those extra information, we use meta. We use a tag called meta, META, as you can see. Then there is something in HTML that we call properties. So properties are basically extra meanings that we add to a tag. They are, so like, just like you have a dog and you want to say the dog has a certain color, or the dog is of a certain age or a certain gender. That's basically what attributes are. So here we are trying to give the meta tag the attribute of character sets, which our browser needs to decode what is in this file. Now the character set is going to be UTF-8. You really don't need to bother much about all these ones, because they are just like standard things that you have to add to every web page for your browser to pass it correctly. Just so that you know, are you guys still hearing me? Can you hear what I'm saying?
Yes, we are with you.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello?
We are trying to
I need
catch up.
somebody to tell me that they can hear me, so that I know that I'm not just blabbing here.
Yeah, we are with you, sir.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah, so the meta tag does not have a closing tag, as you might have noticed. Instead, it kind of like closes itself. That's why you have this slash at the end. So what this slash means is like, if you know we're not going to put anything in between the meta tag, so normally it's going to be something like this, based on what we know so far. Normally it's going to be like this. Sorry. Normally it's going to be like this. But because we're going to have like anything inside of this meta tag, we don't need to do the opening and closing separately. We can just close it inside of the opening by adding this slash at the end. So that's how self-closing tags work. I'm not sure that's the correct name, but that's what I'll call it. Yeah. So meta character set ECX 8. Then another thing we have to add is meta name viewport. This one is for responsibility. Responsibility is basically when you start your okay, so if you open google.com on your laptop, on your phone, you see that you see two different things. So that's basically what responsiveness is, making the same websites work on different devices, small screen sizes to tablets to desktop to laptops and all that. So this one, that what I'm writing here is basically for responsiveness. You don't have to worry too much about that also. So just bear with me for now. Initial scale cause 1.0. Then this is also self-closing because it's a meta tag. Then now we can get into the proper thing. So when you're doing with HTML, you're going to have, okay, now inside of the body is where we add the things that we want to see in the browser. Basically, anything you want to see in the browser, you add it inside of the body tag. Now, how do we start? So let's start with something as simple as text. If I have a text that I want to display inside of the browser, we have something that we call a p tag. Now, as you can guess, since you are talking about text and I said p, the p tag means the paragraph. If you hover over it, you can see like it's giving us hints. The p element represents a paragraph. So we know that whatever we type inside of this thing is going to represent a paragraph. So I can type whatever I want to type inside. Let me type welcome to this class. Yeah, let me save it. So now I want to try and open it inside of my browser. Yeah, so as you can see, we have welcome to today's class in the browser. So this is, hello? Did somebody say they have a question? Okay, I guess I heard wrong. Yeah, so now we have welcome to today's class, which is a paragraph. So we've successfully added something inside of our HTML file. So
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I have a question, please.
Oh yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, hi, I'm Yeni. I noticed when you created the meta tag, right?
Yeah.
The initial opening tag for head disappeared
Yeah.
and also became meta. Why did that happen?
Oh, okay, that was a mistake. Thank you for pointing that out. That was a mistake. Yeah, it's not supposed to be like that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you for.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Another question. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah. My name is Tochiko. Please, I want to ask, how did you get that your server, sorry, the Chrome? How do you get them to reflect on the Chrome? Like when you open your Visual Studio or this thing,
How
Sublime.
do you okay? Like when you change something in HTML file, how do you get it to show on?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an
Yes.
extension for that. So I didn't want to bring this up because might only apply to people using Visual Studio Code. There's an extension called Live Server, I think. Yeah. So with this extension, we can it basically takes the HTML and as we are changing stuff, it loads it for us. Yeah, so that's basically it. I think it's available on other what's the word? Other IDs too. So like you guys can check on your own and figure out how that works. So I'm actually realizing now that it's not here. It's meant to have popped up somewhere around here, but don't worry. For now, we'll just keep refreshing. I don't want to waste too much time trying to figure out what's going on with that. So yeah, Tochukwu, have I answered your question?
Yeah, you said live server.
Yeah, live server.
It's something I should download or something, or
It's an
it's with
extension. So
extension.
on Visual Studio Code, on your sidebar, my sidebar is on the right side, but for most of you guys, be on the left. That's the thing. So this extensions tab, the one that looks like a menu icon, I don't even know what this is. You click on it and it opens the extensions tab. Then you search for whatever extension you want to install. When you see it, click on install and it installs it. That's basically it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So
Thank you.
yeah. I'm trying to still figure out why this is not working. It's meant to be working. But yeah, as I said, I'll figure that out later. So we have Peter. Welcome to today's class. Then, so every paragraph that we have, or any text that we want to have, most of the times you use p tags to represent them. But there are also other texts, other tags rather, that you can use to represent other tags that you can use to represent text. Yeah, other tags that you can use to represent text, and some of them are M. I think we have bold. We have bold. We have I. We have strong. All these represent text, but using bold and I is frowned upon because it does not give too much. As I said before, HTML is meant to represent the structure / skeleton of what your web page is supposed to be. Bold and I, they don't necessarily do that. All they do is they give the text that you put inside them a particular styling. So as you can guess, bold is going to make the text inside of it bold, and I is going to make the text inside of it in italic format. So I would strongly advise against using these two. Instead, use M and strong. They are both used to represent important text. So like if you have not necessarily for headers. So if you have like it really depends on what you are building. If you have maybe a date or you have like a blog post and you want to make sure that the author's name stands out, you can use M or strong for that. Or you're writing an article and there's something important that you want like anybody that is reading it to know. That's also, you can also use one of them. So yeah, so that's about it with texts in HTML. So all of them is basically just to make the text show. It's basically just as good as copying whatever not copying, typing whatever text you want and typing it in between the opening and closing tag, and it's going to be shown in the browser. So if I go back to my browser now, I have to refresh because yeah. So now we have welcome to today's class 3 times. This is the P tag. This is the M tag. The M is also italic. So take note of that. And the strong is going to be bold. So yeah, that's what we have now. So let's go back and let me just close this or comment it out rather. So if you are using Visual Studio Code, to comment, you press Control and // on your keyboard. There should be a slash directly above the control that is on the right hand side of the keyboard. So yeah, Control and // that would comment it out. So this is basically how we write comments in HTML. Or let me write it from scratch. To write it from scratch, you would use the what's the word? The less than sign, exclamation mark, then you have 2 dashes. It's completing it for me because it's an ID, but yeah, it's not. So on the other side, when you want to close the comment, you have 2 dashes, then greater than sign, and that's going to be your comment. So that's about that. Then for headers in HTML, we have 6 headers. And they range in order of, should I say, importance? Yeah. So if on your HTML web page there is a H1 tag and a H3 tag, okay, those header tags range from H1 to H6. So we have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, and each of them represents like how important the heading is. So on a web page, if your browser is going through it and it sees a H1 tag and it sees a H3 tag, it knows that the H1 is going to be more important. So take that into consideration when you are building whatever you want to build. So if I have, let me say front end class, and today, I think today's class is the second class. So that's second class. Okay, let me say front end track. If I save this now and I go back to my browser and I refresh, then as you can see, front end track and second class. Now, automatic HTML assigns styling to any tag, not HTML rather, your browser tags by default, even without you applying anything. That's why, as you can see, has a higher size, like it's bigger tag, because as I said before, this one, the H1 is supposed to be more important. So yeah, that's also about it for headers. Yeah, is everybody following me so far? Like, do you guys understand what I've been talking about? Do you have any questions?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Hello,
can
I
hear
have a
you.
question.
Yeah, what's your
Please, what
question?
is the function of comments? The comments I have.
Okay, so comment is basically, so let's say I was writing this code, or what use case should I give this? Say you're working on a team now, you're working on a team, and somebody has done this before. And what you wrote on in the HTML file was this. You wrote H1 front end track and H6 second class. Me, I now read somewhere online that okay, it's not good for me to use H1 and H6 together. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying I just read somewhere that, and I decided okay, instead of me to use H6, let me to H5. Yeah, let me change to H5. And I don't want to like necessarily send you a message on WhatsApp or something, the H6 that you wrote to H4. So instead of me to send you a message on WhatsApp or whatever, I can just add a comment here, and I'll say I can just say like I changed the H6 to H4, blah blah blah, something like that, something along those lines. Basically, you need to pass information that is not code to write comments. It's not for the browser, it's for we developers that are working on the project. It's not for the browser. Immediately the browser sees anything that looks like this, that looks like a comment, whatever is inside of that comment does not concern the browser. It's for us. I hope I've clarified. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I think, as I said before, we're done with headers. So let's go into the next thing. Time is really running fast. I don't know why. I really do not know why. It does not want me to finish what I have today, but we'll try our possible best. So the next thing we have, I've spoken about text. So I'll cover anchor and attributes together. So anchor tags are basically links. So if on my website now, say I design a website for a school, and I want to have a link on the school's website that links to google.com for some weird reason. I don't know, maybe they want their students to have easy access to Google, and their students for some reason don't know google.com. So they want a link to be on school's website that links to google.com. So how do you do that? We use an A tag, letter A. So as we've been doing since, you open the tag, you have A, then you're going to close the tag. But remember I spoke about attributes earlier on. So now, since this A tag is for linking, we need to tell it where it is going to link to. Because like, if you don't tell it, how is it going to know where it's supposed to link to? Now, how you tell the link tag, how you tell the A tag where it should link to is by using the href attributes, href, and you basically do it the same way you did all the other attributes that you have up. You type the name of the attribute, you type equals to, then in quotes you have the value that you want the link to have. So here we are going to, so we want to take us to www.google.com, and we want, so inside of the A tag now, what we're going to write inside is what
Please, I can't see the screen again. Is it only me?
No, you're not the only.
Suit don't leave class.
Make it no verse, I
I
beg.
swear.
Probably na in network.
Every time, network.
Nigeria.
Even there, no get network. It's not up.
One more time they go. Voilà. Some parts.
hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh yeah, sorry about dropping off. Um, my network had issues. Sorry about that. So yeah, let me just share my screen and I'll continue where we left off. It's as if everything does not want me to complete what I plan to complete today, but we'll complete it against all odds. Yeah, so can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so we stopped at links and I was explaining how you can link your web page to another web page basically by using the A tag and the href attributes. The value you give to the href attributes is the URL that you want the browser to go to. In our case, we want to go to Google's website, so that's why I have www.google.com here. So if you go back here and we refresh, you shall have a link, and by clicking it, oh wow, okay. HTTP. Yeah. So I didn't write the complete URL. That's why it was giving me an error before. So basically, we just linked our web page from whatever web page we're currently on to Google's website. So you can do that for any website on the internet, any website that has a URL. Just give it as a href and it will take you there. So yeah, that's about it. So let me just use this to quickly go through classes and IDs. So this has more to do with styling like CSS than HTML, but let me just cover it now. So we have this attribute called class and another one called ID. Now, what their main functions are is just to give a particular element or group of elements a particular kind of name so that we can group them under something and it will be easy for us to style it. So I'm just mentioning this now so that we'll get to it before we get to the styling part of things. So we can give this one a class of link and you can give it an ID of like first link. So like this now, if I have several links that, let me add another one here that has a class of the same link and I do the same. I have this like three or I have like three. So if I have like three links on my web page and I want to give all of them the same style, I can just use this class, this link class, and I'll set the style to apply on any element that has this link class, and it's apply to all of them together. For IDs on the other hand are meant to be specific to one element. If you give an ID to more than one element, the HTML will not shout at us, our browser will not shout at us. But it is not best practices. You are not advised to do such because IDs are meant to be for one element. The moment you want to extend that styling or that thing to more than one element, use a class. Yeah, so that is about that. So yeah, we've covered anchor tags and how they can take you anywhere on the internet using the href attributes. The next thing we have the image. We have the image tag. So yeah, the image tag is, as the name implies, it just helps you to display an image. And how do we do that? With a tag called img. Now it has two main attributes that we need to take note of. The first attribute is src. src representing source. Source basically means, okay, you want to display an image. Where do you want me to get this image from? That is basically what source is. So wherever you want this image to be coming from, whether you want it to come from a local place, that's if it's coming from your laptop or your desktop or locally, or it's coming from the internet, that's by a URL or something like that. So if I want to display this image, this box model.png, since they are in the same folder, I can just type box model.png as the source. Then the second important thing we have, and some people don't see it as important, but as front-end developers, we have to see it as important because it helps us to make our websites more accessible. Now, in terms of accessibility, I don't want to dive too deep into that because that's like not the topic for today, but accessibility basically means making your website usable by everybody on planet Earth. So people that are blind cannot necessarily see a picture. So you need to give them some form of word representation of what is inside of that picture so that they will have context as to what that picture is meant to signify. Then another thing is when you are styling your elements, you need to take note of people that are color blind. So for people that are colorblind, there are certain things that you're not supposed to do to make sure that they can see and differentiate things on your web page. So those are things that like you go into the further you go into your career. But for now, let's just know that all our image tags are going to have source and alt. So the second one is alt. And as I said before, it gives us more info into what the image is about. So here, the image is pertaining to what we are going to be doing in the CSS part later today. But I'll explain it as box model. Oh, sorry about that. I'll give it as box model image. Yeah. Now, another thing that is frowned upon is when you add image inside of the alt tag. The person that is going to your website already knows that it is an image because they'll be using screen readers. So screen readers can already tell that this is an image tag. So he knows that obviously you're talking about an image. So adding image here does not really make much sense. It's kind of like tautology, like why are you repeating yourself? So you can just remove that part. But try as much as possible to be explicit when you're explaining what is in the image. Yeah, so now the image tag is not meant to have children because what do you want to display inside of an image? We already specify what we want to display as the sources value. So we can close it the way same way we closed our meta tags that will give it a self enclosing tag. So if I save this and I go back to my Chrome browser and I go back to where we're coming from. So this is the image that I was displaying. This is the box model image that I told this to display. So as you can see, the image takes the full size of just takes everything. So we should be able to style the image. I think it has a width, it has a width and height property. So we can give it a width of, let me say, 500 pixels and a height of, I don't know, 400 pixels. I will save that and we'll refresh. It has been resized. So as you can see, this is what the whole image is showing. So now I assume that everybody in this class should be able to successfully write HTML, should be able to successfully build a web page that has texts, headers, paragraphs, and all that, can link to other pages and can show an images. Everybody in this class at this point should be able to do that. If there's anybody, is there anybody in this class that feels like they would not be able to do that, given what I've said so far? I need answers. You guys have to answer.
We are with you, sir.
Okay, so based on the feedback, everybody is following me. Nobody has any questions. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So the next thing we have in line is the video tag. The video tag. So let me just get rid of the image. Get rid of the image. Oh, should I? I think I should have been leaving everything so that you guys be able to see the code when we are done. I'll probably type everything again, but I'll start leaving it from now. So yeah, to do a video tag, you're basically just going to have video. The same way we did almost all the other things. You have the opening tag, then the closing tag. You have video here. Then inside of it, you're now going to have another tag called source. And this source tag allows us to specify where we want the video to be loaded from. Is it href or src? I think I might be forgetting this now. I think it's src. Okay, yeah, it's src. As you can see, required for audio and video, address of the media resource. So yeah, src. And this source is also a self-closing tag. And okay, I know I didn't explain this earlier on, but in terms of HTML, the whole thing is going to have like a sort of tree structure. So the first parent, like the parent of all the elements that we have, is going to be this HTML tag, because like it's the parent. Now the HTML tag has two children, the head tag and the body tag. The head tag has two children also, these two meta tags. The body tag has the img tag as its first child and the video tag as its second child. Then the video tag has the source tag as its child. So just like you might get asked that like in an interview or whatnot, even just to understand like the whole concept of how HTML works. So the browser actually builds a tree-like structure, and that is how you build it. Like the HTML is going to be the parents, then you have children, then grandchildren, and the whole family tree. Then the src. Okay, so I copied a link to a video, so I'll just copy that from here and paste it in here. Then yeah, if you reload this, we should have a video if everything goes well. Yeah, so this is the video that we have. Yeah, I think I should just comment out the image so that it's not disturb us. So we have the video. Let me refresh this. So we have the video, but I'm sure you guys will be wondering why do we have the video, but it looks like a picture, because it does not seem like it's playable. It seems like a picture. So how do we make it playable? We make it playable by adding features or attributes rather to our video tag. Now those attributes are what I listed here beside it. The attributes that you can give are width, height, muted, autoplay, loop, and we have another one called controls. So I'll just go through them very fast. So typing controls here just like this without giving it any value, what this does under the hood is it's telling HTML that
Sorry, hello.
okay, hello, can you hear me?
Please,
Yes.
can you go back to the last part where we were
Can
talking
I go
about
back to what?
play, loop, and others for the
I didn't
video?
hear what you said. Can you ask the question again?
Can can you go back to the last slide where you showed us how if you want to make a video to play or
Oh yeah,
something?
no, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. Don't worry about that. This is it. This is just like the outline of what I want to be talking about today, and we're already very far. We have 1 hour left, and this is all we still have. So yeah, don't worry about that. I'll probably share it with you guys like on the Slack channel when I'm done. So controls basically gives us access to all the controls uh, of that particular video. The regular things that you have, your scroll bar, your track bar, the thing that you use to basically select the time that you want to jump to inside of the video. Then your pause, your play, your full screen, all those normal ones. Yeah, that's what controls does for us. Then we also have loop. So what loop does is when the video gets to the end, it does not stop. It automatically goes back to the start. Then we also have muted. What muted does, as the name implies, is when the video starts, the video is automatically muted. We can unmute it, but as when it loads, the video will be muted. So all these styles now, sorry, all these attributes, we didn't give them values, but under the hood, HTML understands that what we are saying is we want this video tag to have controls. We want the video tag to be looped. We want the video tag to be muted. So if I save this and I go back to the file and I refresh it, we should have our controls and everything. So as you can see, by default, it is muted. Let me increase the width and height so that like it will be bigger. So I'll give the width to, I'll do what I did before. Let me make it bigger, 500 pixels, and the height should also be 500 pixels. And I'll save it, and we can go back and refresh. Yeah, okay, it looks kind of like off. So let me make the width kind of bigger. I don't know, 800. So yeah, refresh. Okay, yeah, it looks nice now. So if you play, you can unmute it. So you guys will not be able to hear the sound because I'm listening to the video. I'm on this call with my earpiece. But basically, you see that we have access to all the controls. We have the pause, we have the play, we have the track bar, we have full screen, we have even more things, download, playback speed, blah, blah, blah. And what was that? If you notice, when the video gets to the end, the video automatically goes back to the start, like it starts by itself again. So that was what the loop did for us. Yeah. So that's about that with video tags. So I can comment this out. And yeah, so let me go back here. So what's the next thing we have in line? Lists. Now, if you have like, so if you want to view like a shopping list or a shopping list now, let's say you're going to market and you want to have a list of things that you're going to buy. So now I'm going to combine two of the elements. I'm going to combine an element that we learned about before, the header tag. So just to give it like a little pizzazz, I'll give this H1 and I'll call it my shopping list. Then now to create lists, there are two types of lists in HTML. You have an ordered list and an unordered list. So when the browser passes your HTML by default, I told you that there are some styles that are applied to elements by default. So if you have an unordered list, HTML is going to give it a bullet styling. So like if you list 5 things, all of them are going to be bulleted. The way I'm sure most of us would have known about bullets in like Microsoft Word and all those other document packages rather. But if you use an ordered list, that's when you want it to have numbers. So it will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. So as before, as we should know by now, to create an unordered list, you use the OL tag. So OL, we're going to come into the elements, and for us to give it a list item, you're going to use the LI tag. So OL represents the list, then it's going to take children that are going to be the items in that list, which is going to be LI. So LI, you're going to have, so you're going to market, you want to buy tomatoes, you want to buy eggs, you want to buy onions, you want to buy a bag of rice. You can save that, and if you come back to the browser and refresh, we'll see that because we are using an ordered list here, you see that we get the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's numbered. But if we change it to UL, which represents an unordered list, and we save it and we go back. So as you can see, two of them both use LI to represent the items. As I said before, LI represents list items. So if you come back here and refresh, you see that everything becomes bullets. So that's like the main difference between them. UL is for numbered. UL is for unordered items that don't necessarily have an order. OL is for ordered items that have an order. If you want to have numbers, so yeah, that's basically that about that. The next thing we have is form elements. We started eating into CSS time, but I wouldn't touch divs and HTML5 elements. So you guys may have to read up on that on your own. I would probably try and look for resources that would help you, but yeah, so let's just go into that right away to avoid wasting any time. So let me push all these commented ones under so that like we have space to write what we want to write. So when we want to have forms in our web page, we're going to use, like as you would have guessed, a form tag. Now inside of that form tag, we're going to have, so for all those input boxes that you see on web pages, so let me open one. If you go to the www.google.com, www.google.com. This input box now that you can type whatever you want to type inside is an input box, an input element in HTML. So let me go back. It's an input HTML. So inside of it, we can type whatever input that we want to give into the web page. But there are different types of input tags. Now, all of them are all input. So if you want to get a number from the person that is using your website, you need an input. If you want to get a range of values, you need an input. If you want to get regular text, you need an input. If you want to get like a true or false kind of thing, like are you above 18 or below 18, you use an input too. So how do you specify between those different types? You specify with the type attribute. The type attribute specifies what type of input we want. Now for the regular one that most of us would know is the input of type text, and that's a regular text box that you can have whatever, I can type whatever I want to type into it. And the input is also a self-closing tag because it does not have any children. It should not have any children, basically. It can have, but it should not have. So input of type text. Then let me just add the other ones. Apart from text, you can have number rather. You can have radio. You can have checkbox. So I'm just copying and pasting here to avoid wasting time since you're already running out of time. You can have submit. We can have I think there are more, but I can't really, it's going over my head now. I don't know why. But yeah, these ones basically cover most of the main ones. Then you also have text area. Text area is basically an input box that is bigger. So use text area to take more than you would regularly take. So on web pages now, I'm sure we might have seen on some websites that if you want to send a message to the owner of the website, fill a certain form. Then on the form, you will notice that there's a box for name, there's a box for email, and all those stuff. But when you see the box that you're supposed to type the actual message that you want to send, that one is going to be bigger because we expect more inputs as a message than like your name. Your name, in normal circumstances, your name should not be like more than one line. Your email should not be more than one line. But the message that you want to send is most likely going to be more than one line. So I'll just save this and go back to the web page and I'll refresh it. So yeah, so this is the text box. So everything is arranged in the order in which we laid it out here. So the first one is the text, this one is for the number, this is the radio button, this is the checkbox, this is the submit, and this is the text area. So if I type in here, you see that I can type any text that I want to type. For numbers, it will not allow us to type in letters because I've already specified I want numbers. So it will only allow us to type numbers. Now I'm typing letters, nothing is showing. But now I'm typing numbers and you're seeing the numbers. And browsers implement, not all browsers, most browsers have like different implementations, but they implement this arrow up and arrow down that helps you to increase the value of the input box. So we also have radio buttons. Radio buttons are useful if you want to have like a form. If you have a form and you have like 4 options or 2 options or 3 options and you want the person to choose one. If you have multiple options and you want your user to choose one, that's when you use a radio button. If you have multiple options and you want them to choose as many as they want, that's when you use a checkbox. So I hope you guys like get the difference between both of them. If you want them to choose only one out of multiple options, you use a checkbox. If you want them to choose more than one, if you want them to choose one out of multiple options, use radio, use type radio. If you want them to use multiple, if you want them to choose multiple options, use checkbox. Now this is the text area. As I said before, we can type it to be going. So as you notice with the input of type text, as you were typing, it didn't go to the next line, it was just on the same line. But with a text area, it goes to the next line when the characters have filled the text area. That's something you need to take note of. Then by default, text areas are resizable. So if you see this, we have two lines on the text area, and if you put your cursor here, you see that it's draggable. So you can increase the size to whatever you want. But most times when you're working on an actual project, you would not want the user to do this. So to disable this resizing, you can do that in your styling, but we'll not get into that now, Sha. So yeah, so the input type submit is actually a button, as you can see, because when we click it, it's kind of like submitting the form. But as I said before, we want to make sure that our HTML shows what's the word? Shows meaning, shows structure. This input of type submit does not necessarily show meaning, because for all the other ones, we were collecting inputs. For text, number, radio, checkbox, text area, we were collecting inputs. But for this, we are not necessarily collecting input. We are like submitting what we've gotten. So using input of type submit is frowned upon. Instead, you should use a button. So a button tag. Then inside of that button, you write what you want the element, what you want the button to have inside of it. So if I want the button to say fire it away, and I save this, and I come back here, and I reload, I'll see that if you notice, they look very similar because they're actually the same thing. But do not use that one. Do not use the input of type submit. Use a button whenever you need a button. So yeah, that is about that. So I think for now, we've covered most of the basics of HTML. So one of the main things that you have to realize as a developer is that you can never stop learning, because most of the things I touched on today, I just touched on them briefly because we don't have that much time. So like I would advise you guys in your own time, go ahead. As I said, I'm going to share all these things with you guys. So in your own time, go ahead, open Google. Like Google is your friend. Google is literally your best friend. So let me just show you an example of what I mean. So something I didn't cover today now was divs and spans. So if you want to read up on it, you can just open your browser, go to, let me open a new tab, go to google.com, and I don't know why this is slow. Okay, so you can just type divs and spans in HTML. And when you click it, you're going to get results that tell you everything about what you need to know. You see different articles, different people talking about it. If reading an article is not your type of thing, you can go to YouTube as well, search for what is the difference between a div and a span, or what is a div in HTML, and so on and so forth. Like those things really help. They will help me till tomorrow. If you see something you don't know about, even if it's not coding related, even if it's just something that a friend spoke to you about and you want to find out more about that particular thing, just open your phone. Google is available to everybody. Open your phone, Google it, like literally just Google it and you get the answer. So yeah, I would encourage you guys to like learn more about most of the things we spoke about today, and even the ones we didn't speak about, learn more about them. Yeah. So at this point, I'm closing off HTML. So anybody that has any question regarding HTML should come forth and speak, or forever hold their peace. Yeah, I'm expecting somebody to, like, even if there is no question, somebody should just come up and let me know that you guys are still like hearing me or whatnot.
Okay.
Okay,
Everything is clear.
now, okay, everything was clear. Hope nobody has any questions. I'm asking again and again. Hope everybody is clear.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Please, I didn't get the anchor elements. I don't know what you meant by anchor elements.
Okay, so the anchor element is the link tag, the one I showed you that
Okay, the
represents
link
when you want
tag.
to,
Okay.
yeah, when you want to link one page to another page. The one that you use href, then you type the value
Ahref.
where you're going to, yeah. That's the anchor tag. So we use it interchangeably, but the actual name is anchor. But since it is a link, most times we call it link. So yeah, sorry for that confusion. So the anchor tag is the A tag, but you can also call it link, sha. So yeah, so I think that is everybody's clear with HTML. So I think I can give you guys an assignment now to go and help me build Google using only HTML because we're not going to CSS. But yeah, you guys should have the hang of HTML now because you've gone through most part of it. So let's go into CSS. Now this is the part that scares most people away. This is the part that scares most people away because CSS is kind of hard. I won't lie, it's kind of hard. But once you keep on practicing, and as I said, you keep on Googling when you have errors. If you have any errors, you Google it, or you ask your friend, or you ask me, or you ask anybody, and he tell you answers. That's basically how we all learn. We learn by asking questions and getting answers. That's how we all learn. So yeah, to get started with CSS, we are going to have to add another thing to our head tag. We are going to have to add another thing as a child of our head tag. So we are going to add a link tag. What this link tag does is it helps us gain access to other files inside of our directory. So since I want to add a styling tag, since I want to add a styling file, this is going to be styles.css. Styles.css. I'm going to use the link tag to do that. So how do we do it? You have your link, the link tag, then it will have an attribute of rel. What does rel mean? To be honest, I don't really know what it means, but I like to think it means relevance because the value that we're going to pass to it is style sheet. So in my head, I like to see it as basically asking us, okay, what does this thing that you're bringing inside of the HTML file, what does it represent? It seems somebody's mic is on. Please turn off your mic. If you see that your mic is, let me just meet the person from here. Yeah, so I think that the person is muted. Yeah, okay, so you can go on. So the style sheet means that like the rel basically is asking us what does this file, what significance does it have inside of our HTML file, and this is our style sheet. So that's why I give it a rel of style sheet. Then the actual location, I need to give that through href, and that is styles.css. And it's also a self-closing tag, so yeah, you just do that. So there are actually 3 ways to style elements inside of HTML. So I'm going to add spacing just like we had before. Then I'm going to add just a h1 tag that says welcome to the new era, and a paragraph tag that contains dummy text. Now, I don't know if any of you know of lorem ipsum, but lorem ipsum is, when I say lorem ipsum, this is what I'm referring to. Lorem ipsum is just placeholder text that we use when we are building stuff. So like, if you are building your actual website now, you most likely want to have content for your page, but when you are building, you might not have it at that point in time, and you just want to use something there, so like we'll be able to see what we are doing. We use what we call lorem ipsum. So just to generate some random text, that's what it is for. So you can read up on what lorem ipsum is and all that and how to generate it. But if you're using VAS Code and you want to generate it, you can just type lorem, Lorem, and the number of words that you want to generate. So it can be 50, it can be 100, it can be 200, whatever you want. Just type it. Or let me show you lorem 100 and generate 100 words. Yeah. So yeah, that's about that. So there are 3 ways we can style our HTML tags. These are the 3 ways. Inline styling. The first is inline styling. The second is internal style sheet. and the third is external style sheet. This external style sheet method is the one that we would have a separate file that is going to contain our CSS. So the moment we have a separate file having our CSS, that's our styling, it means we are using the external style sheet method. The moment we style a particular element on its own, it means we are using inline styles. Now let me show you what inline styles is. So okay, let me save this and refresh it ASAP. Let me close this tab and refresh. So yeah, this is what we have so far. But I now look at this welcome to new era and I'm like, I don't like the way it's black. I want to change the color to red. So I can come to this H1 and all elements have an attribute called style. And what the attribute does is it basically enables us to style that particular element. So I can have, if I want to style it now, there are different things. As you can see, my ID is already telling me the different styles I can apply to it. But it's the color I want to change. I want to change the color to red. So I just type color and semicolon. Then after the semicolon, I'll type the value that I want to give to that color, to the color property. So I'll say red. And if I save it and I go back and reload, you see that welcome to new era is now red. So yeah, this is the first thing that we are styling. So if you come back here, so if you want to add more, so at the end of your style, when you write the attributes, like the property that you want to style, and you have your semicolon, and you're written the value you're supposed to have, you're meant to have a semicolon at the back. So property colon value semicolon, property colon value semicolon, basically. So if I want to change, as I've changed the color to red now, I'm like, I don't like the color again. I want to change the color to blue now. I'll just do this, and if I come here, refresh, it becomes blue. So that's this basically inline styling. Is when you apply your styles inside of the element itself. So if I wanted to apply inline styling to my paragraph too, let's say I wanted to increase the size. If you look at all of them, they look pretty small. The text looks pretty small. If I want to increase it, there is a property that we call font size. Font size. If you use Microsoft Word or Excel or use their packages regularly, you have an idea what this is. Font size basically increase the size of the text. So the value that we assign to it, we don't just give it a number, we give it a pixel-based number. In CSS, most times when we give values to text, we are referring to pixels. So let me just give it a font size of 20 pixels. Then I almost forgot my semicolon. So don't forget attribute colon value semicolon. So 20 pixels. You're not going to type the full pixels like this, but you just write px and you save it. And if you go back here, you load, you see that the paragraph has increased in size. So that's basically it about inline styling. Now, for what was the next one? For internal style sheet. Internal style sheet is when we have the style sheet inside of the HTML. We don't put it on the element. We don't style the element directly. We style the element from a style sheet, but we don't take the style sheet outside of the HTML. We put the style sheet inside of the HTML file. So you can do that by coming, here basically at the beginning, and we have a style tag. So basically, anything that we type inside of here is going to be valid, should be valid CSS, because anything that is here, your browser is going to pass it as CSS and to not pass it as regular HTML. So if I want to style, okay, let me remove these ones now. Let me remove the style I gave it here. So if I want to style the H1, I need to have a way to like access the H1 Abina, because from here I could just assign the style directly to it. But by using the style sheet, I've now like left the element. So I need to have a way to access that element. So the way we do that is by using what we call selectors in CSS. So one of the most basic selectors we have is by using the name of the tag itself. So if I want to style the H1 tag, I'll just type H1. Yeah, I'll type H1. Then I would open a curly brace. I don't know if you guys have seen or heard of this before, but this is what we use in CSS. Curly brace, that should be the bracket beside your P. So curly brace, then you open it. Then inside of that curly brace, that's where you now write the style that you want to apply for this particular
Hello.
selector. Yeah, I can hear you. What's your question?
I think the internal style sheet should be within the head tag, like you put it under between the body tag.
Okay, so yeah, we can put it. Okay,
Will it work if it's there
yeah,
also,
that's the thing.
or
It can also work. It can also work when it's here. It can also work when it's here.
Oh,
Or let's try
alright,
it.
thanks.
Actually, most times when you have like a question on this type of thing, when you have a question dealing with code, you just try it out and see if it works or not. If it does not work, then it serves as a learning purpose or learning path for everyone. So
Alright, thanks.
let me refresh this, and yeah, so as you can see, it actually did work because I've removed the inline styling from the H1 and I started through the style sheet and it still worked. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it can work. So if you move this into the head too, it will still work. So if I save this and
Alright.
refresh, it will still work. So it does not really make much difference. But the most, what's the word? The industry standard or industry based on best practices, you are not meant to style your elements with an internal style sheet. You are meant to use an external style sheet like the styles.css that we have here, which is why I already linked it with the link tag here. So I'm just going to close this up. I'm going to close this. I need to delete that. So if I save it now and I go back, everything should go back to the way it was before, where everything was black. Yeah, so we are back at default setting. So for us to see the HTML file and the styles together, I'll just split my screen into two. So this is the HTML and this is where I need to write in our styles. So okay, we have 32 more minutes. So let's try and make the most of it. I will probably leave like 2-3 minutes at the end in case anybody has any questions. But if you have any question, be asking it as I'm talking so that I'll be able to explain it and like you will not leave it an unanswered question.
Sir,
Yeah, what's the question?
sir, please, I'm sorry. About how will we get the recording as the recording of the class? My phone will still got like will switch off soon, and I'm not able to access
Oh no,
it
no,
on my
you're not able to access the recording. Okay,
friends.
so
I'm not
I'll
able to access
try
it
and
on my
okay,
Microsoft.
I'll talk with the team, try and figure out a way to make it accessible for people that are having issues with their Teams app or Teams sign-in process. I'll try and get it to you, Sha. Don't bother about that. Yeah? Did I clarify? Like,
Okay, sir.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. So yeah, let's go into the styling. So if we do the exact same thing that we wrote inside of our style tag that was here, and we just do since we want to target the H1, and we open our curly brace and we say color red, and we save it, and we come back here and we refresh, we should have, yeah, we should have it being color red now. So now as you can see, we have linked our index.html file to our style sheet, which is a separate file. And this is the recommended way of styling your elements. You should not use inline style, you should not use internal style sheets, but instead use external style sheets. Now, you would ask me why. Why should I stress myself and create a whole new file? So the thing is, if you create an external style sheet, after building this page, so let's say we built Google's homepage now, the one that we have here. Let's say we built this one. Let's say we built this page now, but our employer or our manager told us that, okay, after building this page, I want you to build this page too, the page that will show us the results. Now, to build this one, we would probably need some of the styling that we used on the previous page, like our font size, our font family, which is the type of fonts that we're using, and a number of other things. So, oh, sorry, can you hear me better? Hello?
Yes, we
Can
can.
everybody hear me? Oh, okay,
Yes, I
okay.
can hear you.
Okay. So, what was I saying before? Yeah, so the main purpose for using external style sheets is to make your styles reusable. So I can use one styling on different web pages, basically, so that you don't have to write as much code. Because if you write it twice, if you're writing internal style sheets, you would have to write it twice. For external, you can write it once and use it in two places, basically. So yeah, so with this we can now we can even change the font size of our H1 to 50 pixels. You can go as wild as you want. You can even make it 100 sef. It's going to be too big, but we are building our web page. You can do whatever we want. So let me close this tab, and if you come back here and reload, yeah, you can see that it has become extraordinarily large. So yeah, so now I think we've basically covered the basics of how to structure your style sheet. So now, what are the things? I mean, talking about styling since now you might ask me, what are the things on the elements that we can style? Now, to be very honest, there's no way I'll be able to cover every possible thing that you can style on your tags, but because there are a lot, like a whole lot. You have color, you have font size, you have font family. Font family basically represents the the type of fonts that I want to use, basically. So there are some fonts that are not available on some computers and some that are available on some, but font family represents the fonts that you're going to be using, Sha. So I think Helvetica should be available on almost every device. Did the fonts change? Is it just me? Okay, I didn't refresh. Yeah, so the font has changed. Now, if you want to, so you notice that the fonts of the H1 changed, but the font of the paragraph did not change. So if you want the font of every text in our entire HTML web page to have a font family of Helvetica, we can come and style our HTML tag, gong, the head tag, sorry, the root tag that we have here. Where is it? This one. So you can come inside of here and say we want our font family to be Helvetica. So based on this, if I save it now, you may or may not be shocked by the results. If I reload now, you see that everything now has the font family of Helvetica, even though I didn't specify font family for H1 or font family for the paragraph tag. Now, how does that work? HTML works by cascading cascading styles. So basically, since we didn't specify our H1, since we didn't specify a font family for the H1, what our browser is going to do is by the time it gets to this H1 and it sees that it does not have a font family, it's going to check, okay, let me check H1's parent to check if it has a style to check if it has a value for font family. It comes to body and it says, okay, body 2 does not have font family. It says, okay, let me check the next one. It's now come to HTML and it says, okay, there's a font family here called Helvetica. So let's use that one to display it on the web page, and that's exactly what it does. Same thing goes for the paragraph tag too. It checks for font family and it does not see, like we didn't even style the paragraph tag at all. Since it does not see it, it goes for it does not see, it checks the HTML and sees font family and it applies that style on the paragraph tag. So I hope font family So it's actually not just font family that we can do like that. We can do the same thing for font size. Let me make this smaller. So if we remove this font size and we save it and we come back here and we refresh, you see that everything has become 10 pixels now. We reduce the size of everything to 10 pixels. The reason why this welcome to new era is bigger is because the browser, as I said before, I told you guys that browsers have their internal styling that they apply to all HTML elements. So that's what's making this one to appear bigger than it actually is supposed to be. But they inherit, HTML tags basically inherit styles from their parents. That's just the point I'm trying to drive from here. We have about 24 minutes left. So what are the other things that we can cover? Font, color, what else? Okay, there's also font width. Font width specifies if you want the element to be bold or not. It's like if you want it to be bold and we specify, oh no, let me start our paragraph tag. So if you look at our paragraph tag now, you see that it's not bold. All the text just look normal. They're like normal text. But the moment we refresh it, we see that everything becomes bold. Why? Because I set the font weight to be bold. Now there are a lot of other things that there are a lot of other styles that we can apply to our text. As you can see here, there's border. So to give our tag a border, we can use this syntax. Might be somewhat confusing. Don't bother too much about it. I just want to show you that you can use a border tag, a border attribute rather. So solid 1 pixel, then the color, let me just say #ccc. So this #ccc is the color. So basically what I'm saying on this line is I want the p tag to have a solid border of width of 1 pixel, and the border should be of this color. So if I save this now and I come in here and I refresh, you will see that I know it's faint. Let me try and zoom in. I know it's faint, but you can see that there is a border around the p tag now. So yeah, basically that's like styling is just taking a value that you have, taking a property rather, an attribute that you want to change the value of, and you give it the new value that you want. There are a lot of things that you can style, like a whole lot. Look at the list here, like the list is exhaustive. There are a lot. So like as we go further, we're going to like dig into the other like next week and in other class, we'll dig into most of the other attributes that we can like style, and we also have padding, we also have margin. These ones are mainly for positioning the elements, but yeah, so we can do a lot of styling basically. Then now there's another very important thing that we almost skipped. This is like one of the most important parts of CSS. So okay, how do I structure this? Okay, so we have a H1 now. Then let's say inside of this P tag we had an ordered list. Now, oh no, let me not use that. Let's say we had a div. And I know I've not really explained what a div is to you guys yet, but a div is basically just a container that does not really hold any value. Remember I told you HTML is meant to hold semantic value, hold meaning. The div is just a container. It does not hold any meaning. So that's why we advise, or front-end developers are advised not to use too much divs inside of their code, because it does not hold meaning. It's just for styling. So let's say inside of this div we have a paragraph and an ordered list, and inside of the ordered list we have an li. Let's say here we have item 1, and inside of the second one, I know most of you will be tired now because like you've been here for about 2 hours, but just bear with me, we'll soon be done. So here we have an A tag. Now, let's say we wanted to assign this particular A tag. Okay, let me give it a text. Let me say Google. Let's say we wanted to assign this Google, if you want to give it a particular color, and we don't want that color to affect any other thing on the web page. Right now, we don't know how to do that because if, like, I could have, if you see, I wanted to set this color now to red, you might have said I should come to HTML and set color red, but setting color red here is going to make everything to be red. But I don't want everything to be red. I want all the other ones to stay the exact same way that they are. It's only the Google that I want to become red. Now, how do I do that? We do that with what we call CSS selectors. So basically what selectors do is they help us select a particular element that we want to style. So if you look at the structure of this now, if you want to get to the A, and you're thinking about it like logically, like we're going to start from like the body tag basically, because we are coming from here. So inside of the body tag, if you want to get to the A, what's the first thing that will come across? We're going to come across the div, right? So we are going to write div. We're going to write div, but it is not the div that we want to style. It's not the div, it's the A that we want to style. So we're going to go further down the tree. Now, inside of the div, what is the next path that we're supposed to take if you are trying to get to A? The next thing is we cannot select P because P does not link to our A tag, but instead we have to select OL. So we are going to have space. So we are going to have OL. OL basically meaning that inside of the div, check for an OL tag. Now, also, we've not still gotten to our A tag yet. Now, we want to say inside of the OL, help me get an LI tag. Now, so we'll just have another space and we'll have LI. Now, this is now the last step. And I say inside of the LI, help me check for an A tag. So we'll just have space A, and we can now here, if you hover over this and look at what the ID brings out, you can see that it's basically telling us the structure of the selector that we have used. So we have div OL LIIA. So looking at this, we seem to have gotten the right element. So let me just apply the styling on it. So I give it a color. Actually, let me not use red so that it's not affect the header. Then I'll save that and let me increase the font size to 100 to 50 pixels, and I'll save that. And if I refresh, you can see now that Google is now, like, as you can see now, we have the other list, the list items, and we successfully styled Google to have a color of aqua and have a font size of 50 pixels. Yeah. So this is kind of frowned upon in some way, because not necessarily frowned upon, but it can lead to issues down the line if you have multiple OL tags, or how do I do this now? Okay, so let's say we had another clone of this OL inside of this P. Yeah, let's say we had this structure of our HTML, but we don't want to style this. We don't want to style this A tag that's inside of here. We want to style the A tag that's inside of here. So we want to get a direct child of the div element, because this OL is a child. This OL that we have here is a child of the div tag. It's inside of the div tag, but it's not a direct child, because it's like a grandchild. But this one here is a direct child. So if I save this now, you'd see that both of them are going to have the style that we applied. See, as you can see, we have two of them here. But if I want to apply the styling on just this OL that is a direct child, I'll use the greater than sign. So it's just like me saying this div, or the div that we are seeing, I don't want any other OL. The only OL that I want you to take is the one that is a direct child of the div. And you can even be more specific and say, even with the OL2, I want an LI that is a direct child of the OL. I want an A tag that is a direct child of the LI. So if I save this now and I come back here and I refresh, you see that, oh, did I make a mistake? I think I made a mistake somewhere that I can't really figure out.
I think you should only use the div.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's try that. Refresh.
Only
Okay,
the
wow.
div.
It is still here.
Yeah.
It's still showing.
Wow.
So I seem to be having some sort of issue. Yeah, so I will figure out what is going on here and I'll get back to you guys on that. As you can see, I'm not perfect. Me, if I make mistakes, all of us make mistakes. So yeah, but about that, this right angle greater than sign basically is meant to specify an OL child that is an OL that is a direct child of the div, basically. So yeah, we have some other selectors, but time will not really permit us to go into all of them. But I'll leave links to resources for you guys to check them out. We also have something called pseudo elements, where you have like before and after. That's also something that you can use when you're styling, but I'm not going to go into that now because, as I said, there is no more time. I think I still have some other things to cover. Okay, now specificity. So if I hover on this, like as you guys can see, there's something called selector specificity. And what this basically means is how specific is your styling. So if we apply styles, so if we apply two styles on the same element, the one with higher specificity is the one that is going to get, like, is the one that is going to be applied on the elements at the end of the day. So, okay, let's say I decide to change this OL now. Okay, if I let me remove this greater than sign and I copy this, and I want to change the color of Google now to red. If I save this and I should go back and reload, we're supposed to have the Google becoming red now. Yeah, but there's a way I can do it. Why this happens the way it happens is because, okay, I don't know if I explained what CSS is to you guys, but CSS stands for cascading style sheets. Basically, what that means is the browser passes our style sheet and goes from top to bottom, and it's just looking for the styles to apply on the element. So by the time it gets here, it sees color aqua and it applies it on the A tag. But it comes further down and sees that, okay, we've changed the value of color again. So at the end of the day, this is this color that is going to be applied. That's basically what cascading means. As it's going down, it's going to be applying the styles that it sees. But it does not just do that at random. It does that based on specificity. So as you can see here, they both have the same specificity, 004. This one also has 004. Now, if I say this one, if I remove the LI now, I reduce the specificity of this one to 003, because I'm now saying style a anchor tag that is inside of a div But this one is more specific because it is saying style an anchor tag that is inside of a list item, that is inside of an ordered list, that is inside of a div. So this one is more specific. So even though CSS is cascading style sheets and it applies styles as it goes down, because this one has a higher specificity, it's not going to change the color. So if I save this and I go back and we refresh this, we see that it maintains the aqua color. So that's basically what specificity is. Specificity basically says, as specificity basically says, as CSS is, I'm going to apply styles as I see them, but I'm only going to change styles if I see two style blocks, basically blocks that have the same specificity. I'm going to apply the one that comes last. If they have different specificity, I'm going to apply the one that has a higher specificity over the one that has a lower specificity. Yeah. Is there any question? I just want to round up now. So like if you guys have any question, like you can ask away. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Does anybody have any question? Because like the class has ended. So we're done for today.
So if you just go over the specificity part again.
Okay, a question of specificity. Does anybody have any other question? All right, then let's go through. What?
That's div. I don't understand there.
Okay, so div, as I said before, div is just a container that does not have a meaning. You know, I said before, HTML is what gives our web page meaning, structure, a skeleton, basically. So the P represents a paragraph, H1 represents a header, OL represents an ordered list, LI represents a list item. Div does not represent anything. All div is for, like, why they created divs is just to make CSS easier for us, to make styling easier. Divs do not affect your semantics, does not affect your structure of your HTML. So like in terms of how you write your HTML, you are not advised to use that many divs because they are meant solely for styling. Did I clarify that?
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
So the question on specificity, most of these things that I'm explaining, they might not really click until you try and like work on these things on your own. And like you try and build out stuff, and you say if you change your font size and you see, okay, the font size is changing here and it's not changing here. Why is that? You Google something and all that. So I said before, Googling is a very important aspect. But just to cover specificity, specificity basically means, okay, let me explain. When our browser sees these styles of CSS, he knows that we have a style sheet somewhere. So he comes here and is reading the style sheet line by line. He reads the HTML own, he sees it, he says, okay, he applies that style. He sees the H1, he says, okay, he applies that style. He sees the P, he says, okay, he applies that style. Okay, let me just edit this one sharply. He sees the div OLLIA, and he sees that it has a specificity of 004. How he gets the specificity is based on, there's a way the specificity is calculated. I would try and look for an article that goes into detail on explaining that. But basically, for this selector, the specificity is 004. It says, okay, he applies this style. Then he now comes down. As I said, CSS is cascading style sheets. It's cascading. So he comes here and he sees, okay, we have another style block that has a specificity of 004. What should I do with it? Since they have the same specificity, it's going to apply the styles that come last. So if So since we specified color here, and we are specifying it again here, but this one, and they both have the same specificity, is going to choose the one that comes last. That's why if you save this one and we come back here and we refresh, you see that the what's the word? The anchor tag becomes red. But if the specificity is lower, here the specificity is 004, here it is 003. So this one is lower. So even though it's cascading, it has applied the styles for color, aqua, font size, blah blah blah. By the time it gets here and sees that this one has a lower specificity, it's not like it's going to say it's not going to read the style. It's still going to read the style because there's a chance that we can have something like, let's say we change our font family in here now to I don't know, Verdana. If we change our font family in here, we have not changed the font family we've not set the font family anywhere before. So it's going to apply this one neat, like it's going to apply it because we've not applied it anywhere that has a higher specificity. HTML here has a specificity of 1. HTML here has a specificity of 1. This one has a specificity of 3. So it is this one that is going to choose this font family. That's what it's going to choose. Now, in terms of the colors, this one has a specificity of 4, and this one has a specificity of 3. So you're going to choose the one with the higher specificity. That's why if you save this now and we go back here, I can see that our anchor will become aqua back. And you also see that the font family has changed from vertical to Verdana, because you see this one does not necessarily look like how the other ones do look like. Yeah, hope I have clarified your question. I hope I didn't confuse you further.
Sorry, hello.
Hello?
Yeah, a quick one, like about the recording. Though someone already asked the question, like, because
Yeah.
I've not been added to my track as well. So I don't know, maybe you can create a WhatsApp group, I don't know, for our own class
Okay,
to study so we can get the
so
recording.
we are
But
trying
the
to
last one
avoid we're trying to avoid using WhatsApp groups. But if you've not joined your track, just message anybody that you see with a star icon on their name that you have issues joining your track, and they will respond to you.
No, I've
You can
done that.
message
So I'm
me.
waiting. I'm still waiting actually. I've
Okay.
done that already. So I'm
So
still waiting. Maybe they will.
okay. For the person that asked the question on specificity, hope the person gets it now. And hope everybody gets everything I was talking about today. Okay.
I have a question.
Okay, shoot. Ask your
Yes.
question.
Okay, yes. This CSS is general CSS, right? Because as we know, we have CSS 3 as well now.
Okay.
Good. Now, if we are this is an introductory class to all of this HTML and CSS for today, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I want to know if we are going to be touching CSS 3 at all, because basically we are still seeing CSS 2.
CSS 3 just basically adds, I think CSS 3 came with the introduction of Flexbox and display and grids too. So that's what we're going to cover in the next class. So today was just to show you guys an intro into CSS and HTML and all that. So we'll cover that later. Don't bother.
All right, thank you.
You're in safe hands. So hope everybody got picked up, at least, even if you didn't understand everything, you should have picked up one or two things that you have better knowledge of HTML and CSS. And everybody that attended this class should be able to build up, like, at least even a minimalistic web page, just for the fun of it, to show your friends that, okay, I'm doing something, and yeah, just to show it off, basically. So yeah, that brings us to the end of today's class, since we do not have any more questions. Yeah?
Do you show us how to use GitHub?
Will I?
Show us how to use GitHub.
Okay, so yeah, that is not necessarily in our curriculum because we don't really have enough time to cover it. But if time permits us at the end, like if there's enough time, sure, why not? We'll cover it.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay, so it seems we have come to the end of today's class. So yeah, everybody, good night. Enjoy the rest of your day and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Oluwaseun.
you're welcome. You're very much welcome.